All right, Dr. Vidan here, and man, I want to thank everybody for all your engagement and asking questions and all those kind of things. I mean, we're going to be every Wednesday and Friday, 1:30, going to be giving different health and wellness tips and different things that you can do during this COVID, during this coronavirus quarantine, and just ways that you can to make changes, right? Make changes to things that you're doing in your everyday life. Now, I'm always going to be giving free resources or low cost resources. I'm also always going to be giving you trusted things that you can look at as well that are going to be trusted research. So it's going to be research and resources that you'll have every time. This one here that we're going to talk about, man, this is going to be a heavy one, right? We're going to make it as interesting as we possibly can, but it's got a great outcome. I mean, you see from the title there that we're looking at things from Duke and from Harvard talking about meditation and prayer. And we're talking about it from the aspect of what are things that we can do and simple steps that we can take. But I like to give not just like, hey, these are the things you can do, because people are like, yeah, great. All right. But I want to give you some of the why behind it. And I want to give you some of the explanation behind it so that you can look at that and go, maybe I should look into that more. Maybe I should find out more about a place that's right for me. Maybe I should find out more about a resource that's there for me, because right now the amount of stress that we're under is so high, right? Like our baseline stress is far too high. And because it's so consistent for such a long period of time, we're constantly getting bombarded with new information. And that new information keeps on changing the way that we're our outlook on the world. I'm seeing it all the time in my practice where people are coming and they're saying how much stress they're dealing with. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some things, because I mean, really, there's this growing body of research that talks about how things like religion and meditation and prayer helps with things like stress and depression. And this particular author, this is Dr. Roberta Lee. She's an MD, and she talks about how the research that's out there that shows that people that are more religious or spiritual use their spirituality to cope with life. Now listen to this. This is interesting how she puts this out. She says they're better able to cope with stress, they heal faster from illness, and they experience increased benefits to their health and well-being. Spirituality connects you to the world, which in turn enables you to stop trying to control things that are beyond your control, right? Beyond yourself. When you feel part of a greater whole, it's easy to understand that you aren't responsible for everything that happens in life. I found that to be really interesting. And this is supported by some other research too that's coming from Duke, which I'll share in just 1 minute, as well as Harvard. But it's interesting how Dr. Lee puts that together, how Dr. Lee talks about that we're taking on all this stress as if we can control it all, and we can't control it all, right? There's so many things that are outside of our control. So what can we control? What can we look at? Well, this is one thing that talks about it. This professor of medicine and psychiatry at Duke University, Dr. Harold Cohen, talks about the fact that he said, look, I surveyed more than 1,000 studies appraising the effects of prayer on health. And in looking at that, he said, hospitalized people who never attended church have an average stay of 3 times longer than people who attended regularly. This is really interesting. Heart patients, and this was an interesting one, heart patients were 14 times more likely to die following surgery if they did not practice a religion. I thought that was an interesting concept and way of putting things together there too. 14 times, especially because right now, when we start to look at these types of issues, that the heart and lungs are so crucial with what we're dealing with right now with COVID, because of how much interaction there is there and how it increases your chances of having problems there too. Went in to talk about elderly people who never or rarely attended church had a stroke rate double that of people who attended regularly. People who are more religious tend to become depressed less often. When they do become depressed, they have recovery rates that are more quicker related than those that don't. Here's one thing, that there's this thing that's called a buffer effect. And this buffer effect is this inverse relationship. It's an inverse relationship, as in when one's high, the other one's low. And what they found is that there's an inverse relationship between religiousness and depressive symptoms. And those things can be stronger during high stress times. Well, you tell me, when is a higher stress time than right now? Most of us, when we look at this, we're at a high stress time right now. And because of that, it's saying that, look, the more connected you are within this, all this is talking about, the more connected you are, the more that you, like, I look at it as I give it up to God, right? And that's my thing. Like I say, I'm giving it up to God. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to let go of that, because I can't control that. Only He can. And when we start to look at it from that perspective, however you're going to look at it, that's the way I do it. I'm just here to present these things for you and talk to you about what the research that's out there is. My belief is that the more that we can do that, that aligns with these things, the more that we can be connected within our faith and our religion, whatever that is for you, that it's going to tie into you being able to kind of let go of those things more. And right now, we're so disconnected, aren't we? Like, we don't have times to connect with other people. I can tell you right here in our office that we have patients that come in and they say, the only time I get any interaction, the only time I get any type of human interaction, other than the people that are in my home, or even for a lot of people, they're living by themselves. They say the only time is here in my office. They say, I don't get any other type of interaction. I get no other type of connection with other people. So it's important that we figure out, like, what are some resources that are out there for us, right? So I'll give you some of those, but before I do, I want to talk about this professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School. His name is Dr. Herbert Benson. Sorry, I want to make sure I say that. So it's Dr. Herbert Benson. So I'm from Louisiana, so if I say Herbert, it sounds weird. I want to say Aber, but it's Herbert Benson. And so he says this. He says, we got to break the train of everyday thought and invoke relaxation responses to reduce stress by having prayer and meditation. This Harvard professor of medical school, this Harvard professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School says, praying for loved ones or a friend might provide emotional or spiritual support that can reduce the stress that you're going on, that reduce the amount of stress that you're under. So simply by praying for someone else, it can help them too. It can help you and it can help them, is what they're finding, is the connection that's there, which I thought was really interesting. And then this one is a one about meditation, that there's scientific studies that are out there that talk about, that demonstrate the fact that meditation can help you with things like slowing your heart rate, lowering blood pressure, reducing blood adrenaline levels that are in there too. All of these things are things that we need to start looking at and start going, all right, what are things that we can have as far as resources that are there for me? Personally, the church that I attend, and I'm sure if you're attending churches or you're thinking about attending church, look at the ones that are out there that are available. There's a lot of them that are available online. I attend the Crossing. It's right here in St. Louis, and they have the Crossing. Pastor Greg, right? So Pastor Greg has all the information that's there. I look at it as far as the Crossing. They have resources on YouTube that you can go to and you can watch it live. It's on Facebook too. You can watch live, just like you're watching live right here too. On meditation, UCLA Health, they have a whole process of things that and I'll put the links in here for you too. UCLA Health has a whole process of mindful meditation. Personally, I like Dr. Joe Dispenza. Dr. Joe Dispenza has a lot for meditation on there too. He's got a lot of research that's there as well. Dr. Dispenza has a book that's on Audible, and you can just listen to the meditation. That's what I do. A lot of times I'll listen to it while I'm traveling on the plane. I'll just listen to those things. I'll put the link in there too for the Audible. If you have an Audible account, you can get that book that's there. Look, the whole point of all this is for these things, because of the fact that we don't have access to a lot of resources. I want to tell you what the research that's out there is and what the resources that are there for you too. If some of these are ones that you're looking at, like, dive into it deeper, find out what more, ask us questions. I see Ann Miller is on here. Hey, no doubt about what Dr. Lee said. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, that's good stuff. Like, these are things that we can do to help each other. Like, these are things that someone right now, I can tell you, somebody right now is dealing with these things. I'm seeing it in my practice. I'm seeing it in my practice that people are looking at it and going, hey, I'm dealing with these issues of depression and anxiety and bipolar issues and all these things, and I don't know where to turn. And I'm dealing with so much stress that I'm having these thoughts that I don't want to be having. I guarantee you that if we're hearing that in my practice, that's going on all over, because that is not my scope of practice, but it's one that we're here to care for people about. And we want to direct them in places that are going to help them. So if you have a church that you love that has online resources, put that in here, right? So put that in here if you have somebody, because my church is going to be the one that fits for me. My staff has a church that fits for them. My team, they look at it and they go, that's the church that fits for them. Put that in here. That's something that's going to help somebody else. We need to be resources for each other and be able to help each other in any way that we possibly can. So on Friday, I'm going to be talking about another resource that you have. It's going to be yoga. I am planning on having some helpers with me on that. Quarantine approved helpers and socially distance appropriate helpers, like I did last Friday. But yeah, I plan on having that for you, and it's going to be great. So we're going to make it a good one. This one was kind of a little bit more of a heavy one. We're going to make that one a little bit more of a light one. It's going to be fun, but definitely great and valuable information that we're going to be able to share with each other and make sure that we're doing this all together, because we're in this together. Let's make sure that we're helping each other in appropriate ways and make sure that we're there for each other too. Again, I'm Dr. Vidan. Thank you for being here. Like I said, every Wednesday and Friday at 1:30, we're going to be sharing this information with you. Let us know if there's any specific questions that you have, and we will make sure you get all those references that are posted here too. All right. Talk soon.